Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 630. That's right, 630 episodes. And if you didn't know, we're just celebrating 11 million downloads on the podcast alone, which is awesome. So thank you for being on this journey with me. I remember when I first started out, and it was just an opportunity to speak my words, just to see, like, it was more therapeutic. I wanted to help people, but it was very much a therapeutic experience for me. But quickly, it became what it is. Like, as soon as like 10,000 downloads a month, then it went up to like 50, then 100,000, and now we're getting like 140,000 downloads, and it's all for free. It's all for you. 630 episodes, which means if we just do that as half hour each, that is well over 300 hours of free content for you to use, utilize, absorb, and apply into your life. That has been my, I like to think, my giving back or sharing. That's what I like to do, despite me running my main business, my main program, or the apps and things like that. So I wanted to thank you for being on this journey with me. Some people have been listening right near or from the beginning. So welcome to you for being such a long-standing listener. And if you're just new listening to my audios, I really hope you get value from them. They go into different subjects. Mainly it's around confidence, living a life of freedom from anxiety, worries, and doubts. Now, before we get into today's episode, we are running the virtual weekend seminar, and that is happening on the 20th and the 21st of November. So time is running out. You can transform from the comfort of your own home. How awesome that is. No flight tickets, no hotels, all of those things. You just turn on the laptop, the iPad, the computer, and transform in your pajamas if you want. I don't mind. That is a great way of transforming, pajamas or not, whatever you're wearing. It is going to be a great, powerful experience to work on letting go of the worries and the doubts getting in your way, to release the emotions which no longer serve you, to release the blocks for self-sabotage, for scarcity, the worries, the doubts, the fears. Just releasing all of that, and then, having done so, acquiring better, healthy, unconscious belief systems that will support us. So therefore, we show up with power, we show up with presence, we show up with love, we show up where the world is conspiring in our favor. So go to josephclough.info/event. We are almost there now. Early bird, I think, is about to finish, so go ahead and get it before that does happen. Even at full price, it's going to be a crazy, it's a lifelong investment there. So go ahead to josephclough.info/event to get your ticket. But in today's episode, we are talking about getting more of a strong mind, a bulletproof mind, where we can start to go into situations, into whatever's showing up at us, because you know what? Sometimes life does throw us these curveballs. Sometimes the unexpected. Sometimes it's been this way for such a long time. And parts of that is going to be the experience that we go through that causes us to see the world in a certain way. So maybe you were told something, maybe something was done to you, maybe you were programmed by society, the events, the people. We go through a roller coaster of life, and especially when we're young, when we didn't know any different, right? That's what I've always experienced my clients and my program and things like that. For the last 20 years of doing what I'm doing, in sociology, they call it like the imprint age, between 0 and 7, where we're just being imprinted by our environment. We're a blank slate. Therefore, the events we go through, we don't have the knowledge and the wisdom as an adult. We just make these unconscious reactions and beliefs and decisions of how we see ourselves in the world, even between 7 and 14 is the modeling area, the modeling period where we start to model people. So we're still not making our own judgments really, because it's impossible to really do so. You're provided information, and therefore we react to that information, the external. So we can really understand how we might have issues. We can understand how things show up. But after a while, having gone through those events, we start to tell ourselves certain stories. And I want us to break free of the stories that we've been telling ourselves. And by stories, I also mean the patterns that we fall into, the habits, the ideas, the thoughts and emotions, our go-to experiences of how I see the world around me. Because the way that you see the world around you will dictate the results that you get. You see, if you don't believe that you're worthy, if you don't believe you're enough, or you believe that there's too much scarcity to be able to be abundant or to get that promotion or to get clients, all of those things, it's going to dictate your behavior. Your belief, or your behavior doesn't dictate the beliefs, the belief dictates your behaviors, and therefore you then get certain results, and then those results reaffirm the same story. So we have to break the story if we want to have a bulletproof mind. We've got to recognize our thought patterns. You see, when I was doing one of my group coaching calls with my members, those were in my program, we were actually talking about this. Sometimes the things that we do really, really well, the things which have made the great changes, we stop doing it. It's weird. Like, you go to the gym, for example, you go 3 times per week. You feel good, you feel amazing, having gone through that first initial barrier, and then you stop going. And you're like, I'm not going at the moment. Don't know why, maybe I'm busy, maybe I got things. And then you forget, actually going to the gym just works. Like, why did I stop doing that? And there could be valid reasons, sometimes there aren't. And it's the same thing with life. At the same times with like, well, do I listen to a hypnosis track? What was the thing which kind of caught me back off the path that I want to be in? I think we've got to train up our mind to recognize these patterns that we tell ourselves. Like, honestly ask yourself, what story do you tell yourself the most? Is it that there's not enough? As in there's not enough money in the world? Is it that I'm not worthy? I am not capable? I am an imposter? What if I fail? What if I succeed? What is the common story that you've been telling yourself at an unconscious level, which is causing us to go into events and start to feel small? Goes into situations where we just feel like, I can't cope anymore. When I think about doing the thing I really want to be doing, I start to shrink. I start to feel overwhelmed. I start to get fearful. What is the record playing in your mind? What is that story? Because we have to separate ourselves from the story. Because the story is not who you are. Like, it's not your essence. It hasn't always been with you. You didn't come out the womb with that story. It was programmed, it was applied, it was absorbed, it was decided upon at an unconscious level for the best of intentions. So I'm not saying your unconscious mind decides things for negativity. The results which happen can definitely feel negative. Anxiety does not feel good. Feeling not capable is not good. Feeling like an imposter definitely doesn't serve us. But the intention, the intent behind the behavior, the intent behind the belief, the intent behind the emotion is always trying to do something good. It may never reach that target, but it tries to. So we've got to separate ourselves from the story and understand, what is it behind that? What is the intention? What's our unconscious mind trying to do? What's it experiencing? How has it been programmed? Because one thing is the knowing, but the next thing is the doing. Can we honestly tell ourselves that we've done everything in our power to let go of the issues that we experience? And I think if we're really honest with ourselves, we're going to have to come up with the answer of no. You may have tried many things, but there'll be certain reasons as to why those many things didn't work. Maybe it was a therapist, maybe it was the practitioner, maybe it was the book, maybe it was the audiobook, maybe it was the affirmation, maybe it was us, maybe there's more reasons for keeping the issue than we thought. You see, if your unconscious mind thinks that it's doing a great job in trying to protect you by keeping you in your comfort zone, there's no way it's going to switch from that horrible behavior we experience with the good intention to the new one, if the new one isn't a better one. So sometimes you need to find the right person or the right system to be able to satisfy those unconscious intentions. You see, I call them, and people in my industry would probably or mostly call them, secondary gains, where there's a secondary gain we're getting from keeping the issue. So if we want to have bulletproof mind, but there's a part of us going, but what if this happens to keep us safe? Then of course we're going to play it small. We've got to break outside of that feedback loop. We've got to break outside of that story. You got to realize why you're doing what you're doing. The why of actually what's happening, but also the why you need and want to change. And it should be a need, it should be a want, it should be so important to you that you'll be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Now, most people aren't there. Most people aren't in the position to be so decisive to go all out on resolving the issue. And I'm not being mean there. I'm at peace with that. Like, I'm okay because it's everyone's unique journey. Like for me, when I was younger, when I was experiencing anxiety, when I had that dread every single day, even as like a 16, 17-year-old, I didn't do anything about it. I thought that it was normal. I may have tried things and just thought, I'm going to give up. Like, we all have our different stories. We have our different evidence procedures. We have all our things, and it's okay for some people not to change. But I'm not talking about other people. I'm talking about you. Like, if you could live a life with unlimited freedom, unlimited strength, that bulletproof mind, what would you be doing? How would you be living life? How would you be giving to life? How would you be receiving to life? When we get to that place of knowing that I'm ready for more, when I'm excited for more, when I'm just like so ready for more, that we're willing to do whatever it takes, that is where you begin to build the fortress of the mind. It's where your values are so strong in doing whatever it takes to let go of the issue that you are just on fire. You're just like spending time in just doing and being who you want to be. So what I'm establishing, and recently with my private group, is scheduling in certain times of our transformation. Of course we can schedule transformation. So saying Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. is my transformation time. That is my hour. That's my power hour of building this fortress. You see, we are in the prison of the mind at the moment. We've built up these walls. We need to tear it down, build on the foundation of you, because the essence of you, that foundation is, in my opinion, pure potentiality. I would go deeper into that as well. I'd say like love, wholeness, peace. But as we entered the world, we started to build up these prisons in our mind, the cages that we cannot see. We start to have those validations as to why we can't do something. So we need to get into the validations of why we should change, have to change, need to change, and have that undeniable passion for it. You've got to be so much more passionate about your result and where you're heading than being the unconscious passion of staying the same. So I'm not even saying you are consciously deciding to stay the same, but your unconscious mind is passionately staying the same because it's holding onto this. It thinks that this is the way. It thinks that this barrier, that this wall you've built around yourself is the safest place on earth. And although you consciously feel the pain of playing small, you feel the pain of not like being in that familiar zone because it's not comfortable, you just stay there and you've got to get so sick and tired of it that you go, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to tear down the wall. I'm ready to be vulnerable. I'm ready to go all in my experience of life. I'm ready to embrace the challenges. You see, when you see the turbulent times as an opportunity to change, your life will never be the same again. You see, that turbulence of the mind, the turbulence of the external can be your awakening today. It can be telling you and showing you that there's another way of being. And sometimes we're going to get sick and tired of our issue for that wake-up call, because the unconscious mind thinks it's doing a good job. So see the value of your transformation. If you're not prioritizing the time of your transformation, you're almost telling your unconscious mind not to make that change. And I say that with the greatest love and emphasis of wanting you to get out of that place. By going, look, life is ready. Life is waiting for me to rise up today. So when that turbulence comes your way, you are just adapting and modifying. You are growing, you are learning, you are getting the resources because you have all those resources within you. You have everything that you need within you. There's nothing more that I'm certain about. You have everything you need. You have that spirit, you have that energy, you have that. We just got to match it with the desire and the application. Once you start to apply this methodology, once you start to apply the science of success, you will start to see your life change. You will start to then see more evidence as to why you should be different, why it's so lovely to be different, or so exciting to live the life that you want. That is my end goal for you. So if we're talking about getting a bulletproof mind, it is not to get it from external circumstances. We're not going to get it from the experiences. We're getting it from the inside first. Build up that fortitude, build up that desire, build up that, look, this is so important to me. I'm willing to give up so much to get there. I'm willing to give up who I am to who I'm about to be. So you create the ideal in your mind. You create your future. You allow yourself the peace of mind that you are doing whatever it takes to move yourself from where you are to where you want to be. Because the difference isn't that far. You see, it may feel like a big difference because maybe you are in scarcity right now. Maybe you are in pain right now based on the symptoms that show up, the anxieties, the worries, and the doubts. It is a painful place to be. But the difference between the awakening, the solution, is not that far away from you. And you might be saying, but Joseph, I've tried, I've worked and worked and worked and done all these hours. Well, it's sometimes about finding the right tool, the right thing to make that change. So it's not that you've been like not passionate enough. Some of us may not have been that passionate or trying lots of things, but let's say you've tried so many things to change your life. Sometimes we just need a different tool. Maybe we've just been seeing everything as a nail and trying to hammer it. We want to be able to use different aspects, be flexible in that way. So ask yourself, what haven't I tried? What else is out there to be able to build up my mind? What can I do today that is going to make my tomorrow better? How can I go in these situations and learn because of them? Who am I about to become that can surprise me so much of my strength, surprise me so much of my essence, that allows life to awaken me? And it might feel like a cold shower, but you know, after a while, it does feel good. I know that from experience. I have a cold shower every single day. We've got to get through that first initial shock because then you start to thrive in it. Not to say we want to go shocking events, but when the events come, we're like, I'm ready. I'm ready to take on this situation. I see it as a challenge. It's all about the change of the perception. It's a change of the frame or the lens that you see the world around you. Right now, we might be in the lens of the victim, and there may be good reasons as to why. But just because we've had reasons as to why we're a victim, it doesn't mean we should always be the victim. And even if we're not the victim, we want to be able to be the victor. So wherever we are, we don't want to just rely on our past or the same old things happening. You've got to have that such a deep desire, the passion and the purpose to go, this is what I want. This is who I'm going to become. And you look at it and think about it every single day and you go, that's where I'm heading. That's my destination. That builds the fortitude of the mind. That builds the fortress as to who you're going to be. You see, that discipline will create your freedom. The discipline of your thoughts, the discipline of the application of doing things and of trying things and adjusting things, the discipline of investing in yourself. And I never mind saying, look, invest yourself. I invest myself all the time. I allocate my salary, a portion of that, a significant one, into my development every single month. And I love it because I know I'm going to grow because of it. So I don't mind saying investing, and I'm not saying you need to invest with me because I don't want to work with lots of people. I'm happy with the people I really want to work with who are truly committed. So I'm not talking about selling here, but I am selling you on the idea that the investment within yourself is going to be so profound. And if you tell me, Joseph, I have no money, well, there's resources everywhere. And even if it's not, say, like credit cards or things like that, or finance, which, look, I don't really mind. I've done that plenty of times. But let's just say that's not you. Well, there's the resource of time itself. The resource of time is decreasing each and every day. So we got to use it wisely. We got to look into that allocation of our transformation. What time are you allocating in your life? I was actually briefly saying to this in my group today, actually. And I was talking about the units. You know, we've already talked a bit about that, but let's just say 1 hour is a unit. So you have 24 hours, which is 24 units. Now, hopefully we're having 7 to 8 of those as units of sleep. Then we have the units of our work. Then we have the units of just eating. But you've got to allocate one of those units. And I'm not saying like every day, although I would if I really want to make a change. That's what I do. I do it to this day. I'm always trying to improve my mind. But at the very least, you want to allocate one of those units of the whole week into your development, where you plan, where you say, look, between 7 and 8 p.m., that's my time. You tell your family, your children, you tell your neighbor down the road, or whatever it is, right? You go, look, this is my time. I am so dedicated that I am ready for this change. Now, whatever you fill up with that space of time is on you. Like, if it's people in my program, I say, do the modules, attend the calls, get the one-to-one, or listen to the custom stuff. That's what I say. But if that's not you, then you go, well, what else am I going to do in that 1 unit of time, which is going to yield me the best investment in return? Is it journaling? Is it gratitude? Is it building out the 100 reasons as to why we should change? Is it listening to a podcast? Is it fill in the blank? Is it going for a run? Is it meditating? Is it yoga? These are kind of practices that we can do in every single moment, but it's got to be yielded and guided to that desired outcome of yours. So appreciate the units of time that you have, because that is so special. The units of time are decreasing every single hour. So we've got to dedicate a unit to ourselves. You got to set up boundaries to build the fortress of your mind, that bulletproof mind. It's like you going to the gym, you build muscle by going there, lifting weights, and sometimes it's like tearing down the muscle to rebuild it back stronger. Same thing with the mind. Sometimes we've got to tear down those walls, tear down, feel the emotion, realize why it's important, why we've got to change, what's going to happen if we don't change, to fuel the fire of this is who I'm going to become. This is why I need to change my life today, because I am petrified of staying the same. That has been one of my biggest motivators, and it's fear. Feeling petrified that I will always be in that fear, which is ironic, right? Fear of the fear. And sometimes we've got to utilize that. We've got to use it. Because if we just go, I change next year, Joseph. Well, Christmas is coming up. I'll wait till then. Oh, actually, now it's getting into Easter and so on. Or now it's getting to summer, going on vacation. Like, before you know it, it's always next year. It's always next month. It's always next week. It's always tomorrow. Because we don't feel enough reason to change. So get those reasons. Look in the mirror and go, oh my goodness, I need to change today. The work that I do today will lead to the transformation. Put it in your diary, put it in your calendar that I am ready to just transform my life. I'm ready for the awakening because I'm putting the effort in. You see, in business, I like to think the money I receive is based on the value that I give. Like, if I'm not giving much value, then I'm not able to charge enough, right? There's just like low value, low product, low service. So I give as much value as possible. And therefore, the world shows up with the right clients who are willing to pay that value because they understand the value of that success, right? Because that means I can go all in. And the reason why I say that to you is, well, if you put a low value on the dedication of your time and transformation, what are you telling your unconscious mind? I'll say it again. If you are consciously putting a low evaluation, a low time threshold on your transformation, what is your unconscious mind going to think of that? Is it going to show up? If you believe in the greater power, a greater source, a higher self, a God, whatever it is, your personal truth, do you think the world's going to show up for you if you're not showing up for yourself? And that's a hard pill to take sometimes, because we got to look in the mirror and go, actually, Joseph, you're right. I haven't been doing enough. I haven't been allocating the time. I haven't been dedicated. I haven't been disciplined to my freedom. So if you are going to receive the value back, you got to remember, what value are you putting in? What are you putting into your mind? What are you putting into your investment of yourself? Whether it be money, whether it be time, because it will dictate the results most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Because if your barrier is low, your unconscious mind's going to respond in the same way. I even think about it when I work with my clients. It's a cooperative flow of energy. It's a cooperative flow. That's all it is. Where someone is receptive, someone gives, and vice versa. It's this cooperative flow of transformation between the practitioner and the client. And if I'm giving to that client, but it's just like a bottleneck, or they're unwilling, they're not dedicated, they're not listening, they're not applying, well, sure, I've got to take responsibility, probably choosing better clients. That's why I vet my clients and vet people in my program, because I want to work with the people like me. But the client's not going to really change if that's their mentality, right? Well, now see yourself as the client, maybe, in that analogy of not wanting to change, not willing to listen to instructions. Well, now see the practitioner as being your unconscious mind. What's it going to do? It's not going to try to over-deliver to convince you, because it thinks it's doing something good. So we've got to be more committed and more inputting to our unconscious mind, overflowing it with the success and all that you desire, so it penetrates its own wall. It begins to go, oh my goodness, the conscious mind has decided it is now my time to change. When you show up with that persistence, when you show up with that commitment and that discipline, you become stronger because your unconscious mind responds to you. The problem is most of the time we're not that disciplined. So there's a bit of a kick up the bottom here. We're not that disciplined. And therefore the unconscious mind isn't disciplined to change, to get that bulletproof mind. And on top of that, sometimes not only are we not disciplined, but we start to resent our unconscious mind because we hate the behavior and the responses it gives us, because we don't like to feel the fear and it's running the fear. We don't like to feel the anxiety because it's running the anxiety. So now not only are we not disciplined, but also we're now resentful. Now, if you're that way when it comes to a practitioner of change, then of course you're not going to change. You're not disciplined, you don't want to do the work, and you have that perception. Where really, maybe it's the way we were showing up to that session. Maybe it's because there are things were happening. And there's just like analogies which are just coming up to me. So hopefully it just kind of makes sense. But when you show up, when you're ready to show up, because I also understand when I said, oh, Christmas is coming up and things like that. Well, sometimes we have to go through events. Sometimes there's something that has to happen. And then we do the work. But as long as we decide once that thing is done and dusted that we're ready to reconnect to our dream, fine, perfect, I love that. But if we keep on using excuses and reasons and next week, next month, next year, then I might maybe change. Then we're going to stay the same because you're telling your unconscious mind the exact same message. So we've got to become conscious of the conscious things we are thinking and feeling, because the unconscious mind is always listening. I think Deepak Chopra said in the book Quantum Healing, I think it's called Quantum Healing, the unconscious mind is always eavesdropping. It's always listening. So if we're coming up with reasons consciously, if we're coming up with resentment to the unconscious mind, then of course we're not going to have that bulletproof mind. We're going to start to feel the resentment more, and the unconscious mind is, and like there's no desire here. You've got to be the conscious, disciplined, ready, decisive, and resourceful person to make the change that you desire. And the good news is, it's you. You have the ability to do just that. I know it can be hard sometimes. I know the fear will get us down. I know that it'll feel like that cloud won't disappear. But if you could just take one thing from me, it is that it can disappear. Sometimes we've just got to show up a little bit more. When the darkness is there, sometimes we've got to be a little bit brighter. Sometimes when things aren't going our way, well, sometimes we've got to push ourselves in the right way. It can happen. I see it day in, day out. And I've worked with people with issues over 60 decades. 60 decades? 6 decades. 60 decades would be a vampire. But no, like 6, 7 decades, or at least, I've worked with my clients. That's a ton of programming, but they've changed. They became committed. They became decisive. And then the solution appeared right in front of them once they were so dedicated and disciplined. And that's when you start to get that bulletproof mind. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And if you want to join me on an event, like I said right at the beginning, the 20th and the 21st of this month, being November, you can go to josephclough.info/event, book your ticket. It's all virtual, transform in the comfort of your own home. And therefore, we get to shine together. Imagine spending 2 whole days with me. I'm going to get through to your unconscious mind. I'm going to energize you. I'm going to get the unconscious mind to look for it. That's a level of discipline and decisiveness that you need to take. Sometimes we've got to give up our weekend for a life of transformation. This is what we're after. And then, of course, if you want to be able to go and work with us as a team, in my program, my 8-week system, go to josephclough.info/talk. It is fully customized to your needs. It is so individual. It is custom and tailored for your unconscious mind. We let go of issues all within 8 weeks by getting clear of what you want to let go of, exactly what you want to achieve. So we get the know where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way, and then we come up with a plan to make it a reality. So that's josephclough.info/talk. TALK, josephclough.info/talk, and that means you can apply to it. The weekend's conference, everyone can go. This one is something that we kind of vet people in a nice way. We want to only work with the right people, the one we love working with, because I believe you should love with who you're working with and love them and want them to be there. But also you got to be a good fit in your decisiveness and also your dedication. And also we got to make sure we can actually solve the issue. There are some issues that we just don't work with, so it's important to apply for it, and it's josephclough.info/talk, and therefore you can book a call with a team and we'll get clear and apply, fill out a questionnaire, application form really, so we are prepared before the call. So with that, my friends, thank you for being here on this podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future one. Many thanks and goodbye.